get real, child. Let's get real.
Hi, thanks for being with me today. You know, I think every guest I have and everything we talk about should be really interesting to you. But today's guest is somebody doing something incredible that you probably haven't heard of. You may have heard of the Libertarian Party and thought, wow, what kind of a weird deal. And, you know, was a libertarian voter and a libertarian advocate, but there was always a nagging limit in my mind that one of the things that the Libertarian Party doesn't address is God and how there is a purpose in life and how God calls us to give charitably and generously to help other people. The Libertarian Party and even conservatives don't really adopt a fully Jesus-oriented focus in life towards loving your neighbors yourself, which means to give generously time and money to helping other people. So my guest today started the Libertarian Christian Institute to take a whole different spin on what God advocates for us to have as a social and governmental structure. So please welcome Norman Horn. So glad to have you with me. And I feel like this is one of my more important shows. So looking forward to talking.
Well, that's a great, you honor me too much with that intro, David. Thank you very much for letting me be here with you.
Well, I think some people have kind of heard of the Libertarian Party and think, oh, they're the party that wants to legalize drugs. But basically, libertarianism is really fundamentally based in loving your neighbors yourself, saying don't ever initiate force, always treat other people with respect. And but it's unfortunately, like I said, conservative and libertarian voices have kind of not embraced Christian charity as a way to meet human needs more efficiently than government. Mm-hmm. So I love the work you're doing, and you all have got a ton of content on your website, writing books and getting the word out. So let's talk a little bit about what you all are doing and how people...
Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much again. And I think that, leaving aside for just a second, the fact that if it weren't for Christianity, the leavening of Christianity throughout the world is what has promoted human dignity and human freedom in a way that had heretofore not existed in human history prior to that. Perhaps you could argue through the Old Testament, through the Israelites, but nonetheless, I think that, you mentioned the non-aggression principle and love your neighbor as yourself. And I think we like to actually see that as almost two sides of the same coin. Whereas on the one hand, the non-aggression principle in libertarianism states that we should not initiate force or fraud against person and property. That's a negative connotation there, what we should not do. The golden rule that Jesus lays out for us, love your neighbor as yourself, is the positive side of that thing, to where that is what we should do. And so these are complementary to each other, and we would call that concordant with each other in the Libertarian Christian Institute. And so that's really, that's something we like to talk about a lot. We're here at LCI trying to equip Christians to promote a free society. That's our mission. And we're going to do that by creating the best content that we can through articles, videos, podcasts, and such as that, in order to help Christians learn about what it means to live in a free society. That's our mission. That's what we're all about. And we are really excited for the prospects going on this year at LCI, because we have so many great things in store for our friends, our family, and our extended families worldwide in the liberty movement and in the churches today.
Well, you're a wonderful mission, and I'm a proud supporter, and so glad to have you on the show, and hope a lot of people are going to share this show. So if you're watching and you're thinking, wow, this sounds like something really disruptive, go to libertarianchristian.com, sign up as a supporter, share the sites, and we can fight for freedom. We've had an election that looks like we're getting maybe smaller government, but it's not near enough to really be fully libertarian. We need to shrink government dramatically and really go to Christian charity meeting human needs. And, you know, libertarians are not in favor of government funded and run schools, and which have done so much harm to children. And so we love free schools and charter schools and all things in a good way. But libertarians are not really easily pigeonholed as either conservatives, as Democrats, or Republicans, because we know that both parties are kind of complicit in this deep state monster that is dominating so much of the economy and our lives.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. You know, there's a lot of excitement right now amongst many conservatives with regards to things like the Doge and the aspects there. Like, okay, is there a chance that we could actually see some government departments reduce their outlays and their expenditures? Could we actually roll back some of these, just the expansion of debt, which is just a massive problem? And we'll definitely, like, the chickens are going to come home to roost there. It will just be a matter of time. And, you know, it felt bad during the election, you know, when when the argument, it seems, in the debate was whether or not we were going to expand the national debt by, you know, 4 trillion this year or 6 trillion this year. That's not much of a debate for us libertarians. And we should not, you know, capitulate to those types of things as Christians as well. We are called to be responsible with our resources by God. You know, in as much as we can. And it's like that doesn't make sense. But if there is some excitement with things like Doge coming down the pipes here, I think it kind of behooves us to ask the question, like, well, what happens after that? So you got more efficient, you saved some money. Great. Did you actually change your mind about the size, the nature, the form, the function, about what government should be all around us? Because if you didn't do that, then it's just a Band-Aid that, you know, my 11-year-old will just rip off in 5 minutes. And like, that's kind of silly. So I think it's important to start asking, like, what happens beyond Doge? And that's one of the themes of the year for us, in fact, at LCI, is that we're going to try and capitalize on that excitement and the attention that that's getting, in order to ask some pointed questions towards our brethren. That if, you know, okay, so cool, you're excited about the prospects of a little bit smaller government. Does that really matter, or do you need to change something more? What happens beyond Doge is kind of the question that we have for everybody.
Well, that's fantastic, and I do think it's an opportunity to make a difference. And I think we need everybody watching this to get behind the Libertarian Christian Institute and support it, so that it can be a louder voice for truly different way of running our society. And you know, this idea that we need to be so militaristic and involved in so much, instead of advocating strongly for peace and doing that, loving your neighbor, which includes your enemy. Yeah.
And we have a history at LCI of being very distinctly anti-war. So if being, you know, non-interventionist is important to you, then we're definitely where you want to be. We study history a lot. We like to, you know, and there's kind of take a step back for a second. You know, what we do at LCI is not just talking about politics, but we're really trying to understand better what it means to have like a holistic point of view about Christian history, our theology, biblical scholarship, and all of these aspects kind of lumped in with libertarian ideas, economics, ethics, public policy, understanding all this, how this works together. And so that's what we try to educate people on, are those types of topics. And it's kind of odd for, you know, even a guy like me, who's, you know, I'm an engineer by trade. But I think that's just as an example to suggest that anybody can do this. These are not impossible things to understand that only experts have any opportunity to say something about. These are our lives that we're living. And if the government is going to have any part of that, then we should have a voice in understanding how that operates and changing it as it becomes problematic. So that's where we're all about. Anybody can get involved. Everybody is important to us. We're not a wonky organization in the sense that, you know, we're just, you know, trying to become part of the new ivory tower or something like that. We're all very accessible. We are really open to ideas for involving people. I'm involved. I just yesterday I was involving one of our supporters' sons in who's a college student in helping us out on some tech issues. And so we have opportunities for people to help. We have opportunities for people to write. We have opportunities for you to learn and for opportunities for you to spread the word. We want you to be able to go out and go to your churches and be confident in talking to your fellow brothers and sisters in Christ about these types of issues. You shouldn't have to be afraid to talk about these things and worry about whether or not people are going to accept you. This is not, we like Christianity, or let's say the American church, in my experience, it has a bit of a form of cancel culture in it sometimes. And we need to be aware of that. And we need to understand that we have to resist that urge. Not only to be doing things like, in the 90s, trying to expel Harry Potter from everywhere or something like that. But we need to understand that we do this kind of internally to ourselves sometimes, to our own detriment. We can be better than that. And I think that our organization is in fact a good example of how we can be truly ecumenical, in that we have all sorts of people from different backgrounds, whether we have, various folks who are Reformed. I'm a Church of Christ kid. We've got people from evangelical free churches, Baptist backgrounds, Anabaptist backgrounds. We have Catholics and Orthodox involved in the organization more broadly. Dude, this is freedom is for everybody, and Christians should be the bulwark of defending it. We're just trying to help people to understand and help Christians to understand that they are the front line in this. Not for firing a gun at everybody, but rather to defend good ideas. That's what we're about.
Well, that's wonderful. And you all have a lot of ebooks, but you also have a great book that has gotten a lot of circulation that hope you'll share with the audience.
Yeah. So so one of the things we do is that we do publish some books. And so this book that we have here, I'm showing here, is Faith Seeking Freedom. This is our kind of short answers to tough questions. It's about 40,000 words or 120 pages or so. It gives you a pretty wide breadth of knowledge about kind of the intersections of theology and libertarian ideas and defending freedom from a Christian point of view. This is a great little book. We are actually expanding upon it right now. There will be a second edition coming out in this year in the future, but we encourage you to check it out now. It's really excellent. It's a great little bit you can just give away to somebody who's interested. And we also are publishing not just stuff like this. We have all sorts of, as you mentioned, ebooks that are freely available on our website. We just ask that you kind of sign up with your email address, and we'll start providing those to you. And then we also are publishing, at least we have another book that we've physically published called Strangers with Candy, which is a hilarious little book about the kind of intersections of economics and freedom and so on. And then we're publishing 2 more books this year. One is coming out next month. It's called the Anabaptist Anarchist. Is that right? Or is it Anarchist Anabaptist? I may have the wording flipped around, but it's on our website. And that's by our contributor, Cody Cook, who's a co-host of the Libertarian Christian podcast, which is a weekly podcast that we put out. The Anarchist Anabaptist is a book about really how Anabaptist theology converges with some anarchist type thinking. And it's very interesting because it's really about, it's really about promoting peace. It's contra what everybody kind of envisions as the kind of firebomb throwing anarchist or something like that. That's not what this is about. It just means that we don't admit that human rulers have full legitimacy. And so that's an important kind of distinction there. That's what Cody is putting out in that book. And then we have a really exciting book coming up in March when it's released, which is called A House Divided, COVID-19 and the Church. That is by a newcomer to our organization, Benj Gaffone. And we are just really excited about that because it is a work of public theology, I like to say, about the way in which the church both did good things, but yet failed as well during the COVID-19 pandemic in capitulating to state demands and not feeding the congregations, feeding the church the way that we should. And it's a call. It's a call to improve and to understand better what our role is in society. And so it's a word of judgment and a word of grace. It provides a path to think about how we can heal these rifts that have kind of formed as a result of COVID-19. And I just think it's a really fantastic work that will definitely, make a mark on us if we let it, and if we take the words to heart. It explores the book of Ezekiel and kind of a theology of crisis leadership, and applies that to what we all experienced here in America and around the world during COVID-19 and the pandemic. So I'm really excited about that too.
That's super. Well, I hope everybody's really enjoying what you're saying, and they're going to go to libertarianchristian.com and get involved and learn about all these great resources. And, my goal with the show is to bring out things that most people haven't heard of, and insights and ideas of a better way to do things. That's why we call it Get Real TV, because we need to get real about things. And if we get real about things, we realize this current path of insane borrowing continuously and building this huge debt bubble is just really unbiblical. One of the things the Old Testament talks about a lot is debt forgiveness and debt jubilees, just to wipe out perpetual debt. And if you look at exponential functions, which compounding debt is an exponential function, it always blows up. It's just a nature of an exponential function when you have compound growth. And we have actually worse than compound growth because we're borrowing more than the interest. So we're accelerating the debt growth even more. So friends, please go to libertarianchristian.com and check out all the information and stay tuned to us. And if you like this content, please support GetRealTV.com. You may be watching this on YouTube and not know that we have a website with the content, but we're trying to get the word out. We need support to spread the word so we can do more marketing to get more views. So, and please support Libertarian Christian Institute so they can do more work. These guys are just zealots for the Lord and zealots for freedom, and taking time out of their days to do all this work as servant leaders, as God calls us to do. So anyway, a lot more good things. So we've got books, we've got ebooks, we've got podcasts. So libertarianchristian.com is a great site to learn a whole lot more and just get a different perspective on how we need to have our society work.
Yes, sir. We'll be excited to have anybody who comes to inquire about us. We are, like I said, we're very responsive. If you email us via our contact forms, it may take us a couple days, but we read and respond to literally everything. We're super accessible and we're very happy to help. And as you mentioned, you said you use the words "take time out of our days," and I think that's I'll take the opportunity to say, what's interesting about our organization, by the way, is that we have nobody who works full time. This is a labor of love from all of our people. We have, and I would argue that we have one of the best return on investments in the entire liberty movement if you support us, because we're small but scrappy, and we have massive impact. We're read in over 100 different countries. Our podcasts are downloaded in over 100 different countries. We are working hard to try and provide those people in other countries with multilingual resources. Heretofore, up until last year, we were only publishing in English, but we've been working hard to try and apply different technologies to help support Spanish speakers, Portuguese speakers, and now French, German. We're working with some really interesting technologies now because we're just smart and scrappy people. We just want to expand our horizons and our opportunities. We're working to try and help those people with those types of needs, and that's what we do. We do that at an increasingly fast rate. We run another project of LCI. We call it the Christians for Liberty Network. This is our kind of our media arm, and we haven't talked, we talked about all our books and whatnot, and you mentioned our podcast. Well, that's our podcast network. You can find all of those podcasts on YouTube, on iTunes, Google Podcasts, everywhere, Spotify, wherever you listen, we're there. We have 8 active podcasts now, and it's really exciting to see how that has expanded just dramatically over the last 3 years. It has been a tremendous opportunity for expansion. It seems like part of the reason we did that was that video and audio are just the ways in which people are consuming content these days. And while our written content is phenomenal, it's the best in the business, in my opinion. I think we've learned how to expand even more dramatically through these new media. And we have we even have live streams that we do. We have one called the Green Room. It's really fun. We bring people on and have live streaming together. It's been a wild time, and I keep looking forward to just what more we can do. We have so many opportunities ahead of us, and with folks like you guys behind it as well, we're gonna make a difference. So thank you, David, for supporting us, of course, and thank everybody listening. If you're coming by to libertarianchristians.com, we're excited to have you. Thank you.
You bet. Well, it's been wonderful hearing about this and sharing the good news that there is a better way to run a society than the way we're doing it right now. And that we can get away from this huge monolith of government dominating so much and really perverting theology and philosophy and teaching people. We've got a rising generation of young people that think government control of the economy is a good idea, when I can think of one thing that the government does well.
Yeah.
And it's inefficient and bloated and leads to all kinds of perturbations in how things work. And so anyway, the mail service is getting unreliable and worse while its expenses go up. And, there's a need for us to be really mindful of being real servants of Christ and not being a country that kills people for political goals and doing all this torture. And of course, the inhumanity of just destroying patriotic guys who want to join the army and be sent into situations where they get maimed. I mean, it breaks my heart to see Tunnels to Tower talking about all these maimed servicemen. It's tragic. And as a Christian, I believe the way to interact with Islam is in a loving way, and not to be killing Muslims, and not to be understanding that in the religion of Islam, killing one Muslim is an offense against all of them. So we're just increasing the hatred. And sadly, the military-industrial complex loves continuous war to feed their huge enterprise that goes back and forth between industry and government. And, I'm for shrinking the government and the military dramatically. I'm for emptying the Pentagon.
Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it would.
Anyway, It's been great to have you on. I hope everybody's really enjoyed this. And I hope you're going to go to libertarianchristian.com and go to getrealtv.com and sign up and give us a donation if you like what we're doing. We are a viewer-supported and me-supported organization, and I'm eager to have to support it less and be able to do more marketing and outreach. So we really need our viewers to step up and start making a small $10 or $20 donation, ideally monthly. I didn't start GetRealTV.com to go broke. I started to GetRealTV.com to make a real difference in the world. You can learn more on our website, and we thank you for joining us, and thank you so much, Norm, for being on.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate it.
So nice to meet you, Norm.
Thank you.